It's time to make another litter buggy. This time I'm going to try to make a bunch of videos. You know, each part, a little bit of detail on what I'm doing. There's really not a whole lot to it. We got our bucket assembly plates. This is our internal component for the ESC. There's our covers. This is our handle components. These are the front and rear bumpers. This rig is going to use the same M12 battery, so that's what that is. Got our motor. That's a little AA battery holder. So the first part of this one is going to be the M12 battery adapter. So you should see that pretty quick. So the first thing we need to do with this is clean out all the support material, and then we need to make sure that our blades are going to fit in those two little holes in the bottom. All right, spades fit, and we go on the battery. Wires wrapped around, and then we dip them in this orange stainless steel shorter flux. Got the wires soldered and the blades in place on a bad battery. We just need to put a little bit of hot glue right here to seal it, and then we fill this pocket up with epoxy. Now we just wait for the epoxy to cure, which I think is about 5 minutes, and pull the battery out and go and mount it. I won't actually put the XT60 connector on here until later. Next part is opening the truck and taking it apart, pulling everything that we don't need off. Here's our nice new truck. Let's open it up. Okay, so everything that we're going to remove: front bumper, steering servo, both of these side pieces. We're going to take that motor off, take that ESC off, the center battery compartment, and we're going to remove the rear bumper. All of those items will be given to somebody or thrown away, and the body as well. And they'll pull the tires off as well, but I'll probably keep those. Okay, this is all the relevant parts removed. And there's everything that's come off. It's going to be thrown away or given away. And next part is tear down, I believe. Put stainless steel screws in. FYI, if you're building one of these using the standard LiPo and not the M12, the majority of those parts will stay in place. All right, next part is to remove all the steel screws through this whole assembly and replace all of them with stainless steel screws from Traxxas. We have all the steel screws removed. We are ready to go on to the next part. So, stay tuned. This is the standard 35 tooth spur and 17 tooth pinion. And that's good for a lot of things, but for what we're doing, we want something more torquey. So we're going to put in a 45 tooth and a 9 tooth. Going to mount that on our Castle brushless motor, and then mount that back in the car. Got to be sure you get that alignment just right. So I go over the whole motor and I brush on Plasti Dip to help seal it from sand and any of the outside elements. This works really good, and I have yet to have this fail on me. Next, we mount our center mount that holds our ESC and receiver. Receiver right here. And we're going to go ahead and put the servo in place. That way we can kind of get most of the cables in the right spot. Alright, steering servo is in place. We haven't connected it yet. We'll do that later when we have power. We got our motor, our receiver, our ESC, and this ESC has a power switch. These parts are all the black you see here. That is Plasti Dip to help seal it. And there you go. Next part is coming. Gonna be the front and rear bumper assembly. Next up is the front and rear bumpers, which they just screw together, and wiring the main power switch and this kind of stuff. So we got everything wired up. Power going to our ESC, spare battery holder, power switch. System comes on. Next step. So the next part is inserting these little shock spacers. And they go in there just like that. What those do is whenever the vehicle has got weight on it and it fully compresses, then it evens out the whole body, and two, it keeps that, let's see if I can get better to see it. You see how that's hitting back there? It keeps that from happening. So that won't be sitting on the front axle. Super important, just a little detail. In this step, we are doing the tub holder that goes on the vehicle. All our components are right here. Let's do it. You put the all thread through the holes with the nuts on either side of this piece right here. And then you put it on your car where it's supposed to go. And you tighten your nuts up till you have it in the correct position. There they are, good and tight. All right, we got all the pencils in, and we just need to raise the little support members in the back so that this is level, and we'll be good to go to the next step. So now we got the bin holder on, we're going to do the main guard that goes over the middle, clean out the holes, and install the screws and washers for that. So let's do it. All right, we got the shield in place, held down by these 6 screws, 3 on either side, and that'll keep any water and disgusting stuff off of the electronics inside. And then it vents, you get airflow in the front, out the back. And in case you didn't notice, there's actually a vent on the bottom of the center point where the heat sink from the ESC blows out. Now we're doing the tires. We're going to use Proline mashers. These tires come with 2 different offset options. We're going to use the biggest one here. And they come with steel screws, and we're just going to get rid of those. We have found that this tread pattern works the best. And the tire is already glued from the factory, which is good. But we have to go in there and put hot glue in that little vent hole and that one. And we do that to keep any salt water from getting inside the foam and to give it a bit of a harder kind of padding. All right, we got the screws in. We got our hot glue in place. We'll get the others done and we'll move on to the next one. Okay, this video kind of messed up on me, but we installed the tires and we went ahead and installed the steering servo connection because we have those on there and we can see when they're centered. And whenever you install that steering servo, you need to make sure that your steering trim is zeroed out because you want to get that servo as centered as possible before you actually tighten it down. We're also going to go ahead and put our thumb controller on the remote, and we'll move on to the next one. Alright, the servo's in place, thumb controller's in there. That gives you complete control with one hand. And I think next step would be the handle. All right, up next we have the handle. It's these two plastic parts right here. They attach right here on the front and back. And then we have to cut this aluminum at 440 millimeters. So the tube just goes through the plastic part right there, and it's going to stick out a little bit on both sides. And then you put a zip tie around it. Zip tie in place. Screw, washer, plastic part, and another washer. We want it to just freely spin on this piece once it's in place. So, all right, there's our handle in place. There we go. Handle can fall on either side, no problem. All right, last part of this build, we need to drill the holes in here for drainage because you don't want this thing filling up with water. We need to coat the power connectors on this side, and we need to put some plastic dip over the screws on the back of the steering servo. All right, holes are in place. I need to clean those up a little bit. Got some plastic dip over those electrical connections, and same thing over those steel screws on the back of that servo just to protect them. All right, one more complete. Now I'm going to show this with the N12 batteries, even though it's not going to come with it. They're going to have to go and get those, but it's not a huge deal. Just get them at Home Depot. I'll go ahead and send these out with the original manual. Not a lot of use in there except for maybe the parts list. And it has the original tools. I also send it out with these things. This is a 4 AA battery holder. Because when you go down that beach 3 miles and the remote dies and you have to carry that back, it sucks. I send it out with these little wheel chucks so that if you're storing it for a while, your wheels will stay nice and rounded. And recently, I had a lady request a flag holder. So, by God, I made her a flag holder. There we go. Completed Litterbuggie. I think that is number 8 or 9, something like that.